I never planned to stay that day. I had gone to my son Daniel's house just to drop off the homemade soup he used to love as a child. He'd been busy lately, too busy to visit, too busy to call, but I told myself that was life. Children grow up, parents learn to step back. The front door was unlocked. I knocked softly, then pushed it open just a little. That's when I heard voices from the kitchen. Daniel's voice, and his wife, Melissa. "She's still depending on us," Melissa said, her tone sharp and impatient. "Your mother acts like she has nowhere else to go." My heart skipped. Daniel sighed. "I know, but what do you want me to do? She's old." "Old?" Melissa laughed softly. "Exactly, old. She's a burden now. Honestly, I don't even know why she's still alive at this point." The container slipped from my hands and hit the floor. The sound echoed louder than my breathing. Silence followed. I stood frozen, my fingers trembling, my chest burning like it was on fire. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to believe I had misheard. But then Melissa said, "See, even gravity wants her gone." They turned. Daniel's face drained of color when he saw me. Melissa's eyes widened not in guilt, but in annoyance. "Oh," she said, "you heard that?" I nodded slowly, unable to speak. Daniel rushed forward. "Mom, it's not what it sounded like." I raised my hand. "No," I whispered. It sounded exactly like what it was. I bent down, picked up the cracked container, and quietly walked back to the door. No shouting, no tears, no scene. Melissa didn't stop me. Daniel didn't follow me. That hurt more than the words. That night, I sat alone in my small apartment, staring at old photographs. Birthday parties I paid for. School fees I covered. Late nights, I stayed awake when Daniel was sick. I had given my whole life to my child, and now, I was a burden. I wiped my tears and whispered to myself, "Fine, if I'm a burden, I'll stop being one." That was the moment I made a decision. A decision that would turn their lives upside down. But what Daniel and Melissa didn't know was that I had something they desperately needed. And I was about to take it back.
The next morning, I woke up calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that only comes when something inside you has finally snapped into place. Daniel had forgotten something important, something he probably assumed I would never use against him. Years ago, after his father passed away, I had sold my own home and moved into a small apartment. With that money, I helped Daniel buy his house. Not loaned, bought. My name was still on the paperwork. At the time, he had hugged me and said, "It's just for security, Mom." Security. I smiled bitterly at the memory. I made tea, opened my old folder, and pulled out the documents. There it was, clear as day. Ownership shared. That afternoon, I called a lawyer, not out of anger, out of clarity. The lawyer listened quietly as I explained everything. When I finished, he leaned back and said, "Legally, you have every right to make decisions regarding that property." I nodded. Good. Then I did something else. I stopped calling. No messages. No checking in. No reminders. 3 days passed. Then Daniel called. "Mom?" His voice sounded unsure. "Are you okay? You didn't come by." "I'm fine," I replied softly. "Just busy." "Busy doing what?" "Preparing." A week later, I received a message from Melissa. "Daniel said you're upset. We didn't mean it like that." I didn't reply. Another message followed. "You know we need stability right now." That word again. Need. Funny how I was only useful when they needed something. I met with the lawyer again and signed the papers. My hands didn't shake this time. When everything was done, I felt lighter. Not happy, not sad, free. 2 days later, Daniel showed up at my door unannounced. He looked tired, worried. "Mom," he said, forcing a smile, "why won't you answer us?" I looked at him, the child I raised, the man who let someone call me a burden. "I've been thinking," I said calmly. About what you said. His eyes widened. You heard that? Yes, I said. Every word. He swallowed hard. I didn't mean, I know, I interrupted. You meant worse. That was when I told him. About the papers. About the decision. About what would happen next. His face went pale. Mom, you can't do this. I tilted my head slightly. Oh, Daniel, I said. I already did. But the real shock hadn't hit them yet. Because the next step would leave them with no escape. Daniel didn't speak for a long time. He just sat there, staring at the floor like a child who had been caught stealing. Finally, he whispered, Melissa doesn't know about this. I almost laughed. Of course she doesn't, I said. You've always protected her from consequences. He stood up abruptly. You're going to destroy my family. I looked him straight in the eyes. No, I'm just stepping out of the way. He left without another word. That evening, my phone rang again. Melissa, I answered. Her voice was different, now sweet, careful, coated with panic. Mom, she said, Daniel told me everything. I think there's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I repeated. Yes. She rushed on. What I said that day, it was taken out of context. I was stressed. I smiled to myself. I see. I replied. You know we love you. She continued. We need you. Need. There it was again. I'm glad you finally realized that, I said, but love doesn't sound like calling someone a burden. Silence. Then her tone changed. So what? You're going to make us homeless now. I took a slow breath. I'm going to reclaim what's mine. The next few weeks were chaos for them. Arguments, tension, panic. For me? Peace. I started walking every morning. I joined a small book club. I laughed with people who didn't see me as an inconvenience. Daniel stopped calling. Melissa sent one final message. I hope you're happy. I was. Not because they were suffering, but because I had finally chosen myself. Then something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. From Daniel. Handwritten. Inside, he apologized. Not excuses. Not blame. Just regret. He wrote, I forgot who you were to me. And now I'm paying for it. I folded the letter carefully. Apologies don't undo words, but they do reveal truth. I made one last decision. One final move that would either rebuild everything or end it forever. But when I showed up at their house one last time, they had no idea what choice I had already made. I stood in front of Daniel's house on a quiet afternoon. The same house I had helped build. The same house I was almost erased from. Melissa opened the door. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Daniel appeared behind her, tense and silent. I won't stay long, I said. We sat at the table where I had once been insulted without knowing it. I'm selling my share, I said calmly. Melissa gasped. Daniel looked confused. But, I continued, I'm giving you the first option to buy it. Daniel blinked. Why? Because I don't want revenge, I said. I want respect. I laid out my conditions. Clear boundaries. No dependency. No guilt. No manipulation. They agreed. Not eagerly. Humbly. As I stood to leave, Melissa spoke quietly. I was wrong, she said. About everything. I nodded. That was enough. I walked out lighter than I had felt in years. But months later, something happened that proved whether they had truly changed or not. Months passed. Daniel and Melissa bought my share. They struggled, but they managed. For the first time, they stood on their own. As for me, I traveled. I laughed. I lived. Daniel calls now not because he needs something, but because he wants to talk. And I answer because I choose to. I am no one's burden. I am my own person. And that changed everything. If you've ever been made to feel unwanted, remember this story. Because choosing yourself is never wrong.